Hello, welcome to the Warframe Collective. Today, I want to talk about the Kompressa because the Kompressa is my favorite gimmick weapon, but it's certainly not winning any awards for anything. Now, what does the Kompressa do? Well, the Kompressa shoots bubbles. That's fucking cool. It's like fucking having a mobile Squirtle. It's like Squirtle, use Bubblebeam. Squirtle, squirt. But yeah, guys, the Kompressa shoots bubbles and the damage output is nothing to write home to mom about. But today, we're gonna try to see if we can ramp the damage up to bring the Kompressa into endgame. Now, if we look at the base stats on the Kompressa, you can see that the Kompressa has a 6% crit chance with a 1.4 times crit multiplier with a 30% status per projectile, and the weapon is base viral. So we have a couple different builds that we're gonna run on this thing. So this is not the first build we're gonna be testing out, but this is gonna be our more critical focus build. As this is a status weapon, you should build it towards status, or at least that was true once upon a time. Once upon a time in Warframe, if you had over 100% status chance on almost any weapon, that weapon was gonna deal payloads of damage. So this is our status focused build. I tested this out with Karnish Stinger, but I wouldn't recommend it as it didn't make a noticeable difference at all. We are mainly using Karnish Stinger for that extra little bump in status chance, but you can pretty much swap that out with whatever you want. So we're gonna be running this against level 160 heavy gunners, and we're gonna see how a build over 100% status performs. And as you can see, it performs, but it's taken me quite a few clips to knock down these level 160 heavy gunners. That's why I sped up the clip a little bit, because the damage is just not there for a status focused build. And as far as Xmas units go, it wasn't really doing anything at all. As you can see, I barely even was able to get halfway through this guy's shield. So I wouldn't recommend a status focused build on this status focused weapon. I guess it's true what they say in Warframe, crit really is king. That hasn't always been true, but I'm gonna show you what this weapon performs like using Saren's abilities, her spores, and her toxic lash. As you can see, the damage is a lot better because this is a status focused weapon. But the thing is, you may not always have a Saren to give you that extra little bump in damage. Ideally, you want the weapon to be able to put out ridiculous damage on its own without the assistance of a Warframe. So next, we're gonna move on to our critical build. So as you guys can see, this time we are running Creeping Bullseye as well as Prime Target Cracker to give us that extra little bump in critical chance and critical multiplier. And we're gonna switch Warframes from Saren to Ureli because Ureli's passive is Critical Flow, which gives you a plus 200% crit chance. And technically this is her weapon, so yeah, we're gonna be switching to Ureli for the next part of the test. And I know I've been talking a little bit of crap about the Kompressa in terms of its damage output, but just cause it's not performing great against level 160 heavy gunners doesn't mean that you can't decimate everything on the star chart with it. So as you can see with our critical build, this is without Ureli's critical flow buff. It is doing pretty nicely. It's doing a lot better than our status focused build was doing. And once again, this is not including Ureli's passive. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna move over to the level 160 Eximus units. And as good as the weapon performed against the basic corrupted heavy gunners, against the heavy gunner Eximus units, the damage just is not there. As you guys can see, I don't even get halfway through this guy's shield bar. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna use the weapon with Yoreli's critical flow buff. And in terms of damage, critical flow really ramps that damage up. The weapon looks a lot better. And we're gonna move to the side because the weapon really excels against groups of enemies. And the damage looks pretty good. The damage is pretty good. But the thing is, even with that, it's not still path good. And moving on to the Eximus units, you can see the damage is a lot better when I'm actually moving around and I have the critical flow buff. But do you really want to bring this thing to the still path over something like a Spore Lancer or over something like a Gauze? I don't think so. But the thing is, if you like the Kompressa, and I really do like the Kompressa, there are some things you can do to get it to work on the still path. One of the most obvious things is you can get a Riven. Now in this build, you'll notice that I'm not running Hornet Strike. That's because with the extra damage from the Riven, I can completely eliminate Hornet Strike altogether out of the build. Listen, this is just how I decided to build my weapon. I'm not telling you how to build. I'm not your mother. Build whatever way you want to. This is just what I decided on. So we're gonna do the same test against level 160 corrupted heavy gunners and Eximus units, and let's see how the weapon performs. And as you guys can see, with all sources of damage included, the weapon's damage output is pretty decent. Decent enough to where I almost knocked down all of these level 160s in just 2 clips. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna move over to the level 160 Eximus units. And as you can see, the damage still is somewhat lacking when it comes to dealing with Eximus units, but I like it. And you can absolutely still use this thing on the still path. You just might have a little bit of trouble when it comes to eating through those Eximus units. But if you like the Kompressa, and I really like the Kompressa, this is the gimmick weapon for you. So that's how the weapon performs in a controlled environment. But we're gonna go ahead and hop over to the still path and see what this baby can do. So here we are on the still path, and we are currently running an interception, and we are running with 4 other players. And as you guys can see, the Kompressa is dealing a considerable amount of damage. I'm having no problem staying alive right now. And the thing is, when you include all sources of damage, including your Riven and your Warframe ability and your Arcanes, the Kompressa can deal payloads of damage. Its damage output is just not there when compared to something like the Gauze or the Spore Lancer. And I know it's pronounced the Gaze, but I'm gonna keep calling it the Gauze. And I like the Kompressa. It shoots fucking bubbles. And something right here happens that I didn't expect. One of the players in the lobby comments a rare Kompressa user. That's hilarious. That's absolutely hilarious. I didn't expect that one, and it brought a cheesy little smile to my face. The only other thing that hurts the Kompressa is its acquisition, as you have to get it from the vent kids. But I don't necessarily expect you to get to max standing with the vent kids. Like, say if you had some extra platinum and you had a 50% off market booster, you can get this thing for like 100 plat. But I'm not telling you to spend plat on the game. You can easily level up with the vent kids if you have the time. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Now, the best thing you guys can do for me at this point is just to have a beautiful day. This is Remo Yesman signing off. Peace.